Okay. I was calling.
Hello.
Hello. Is this Raymundo?
Indeed, it is.
What is up, man? Thank you first and foremost for accepting the call, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, of course. This is kind of the most attention I've gotten in a long time, and I was not expecting it in the slightest. So, it's cool to have this opportunity. Are we live right now?
We are live. We are live.
Awesome. Sweet. Well,
D-
hello to the audience.
yeah, so I was checking out your video. I'm about yeah, to be fair, I don't know if you say some crazy shit towards the end here, but I watched the first 11 minutes, the commentary slop section, Mr. Beast memes and stuff.
Yes.
And I wanted to get your broad, like, ask some questions about like your broad take and thoughts on, I guess,
Yeah, for sure.
the meaning of this video and how you think of commentary slop or something. So,
Totally.
the thing I was noticing about this video is that I feel like you were mentioning.
Go my background.
Yeah,
Let me
what's
change
up,
my
man?
background real quick. That was for a podcast.
Is that the Pegasus brony
yeah.
you mentioned in the video?
That is there's some lore to all this stuff, but
Oh
we
man,
don't need to get into all
your
that
your
stuff.
camera's lagging pretty bad.
Oh, is it?
Is it
Okay.
good? Is it good
Oh
now?
shit,
Maybe it's
yeah, it
because
is.
you're
Oh, I see
switching
it on
stuff.
stream. Yeah, that's not a good frame. Um, there we go. That's somewhat better, right?
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Here, listen. To be fair, dude, it's lagging a bunch. I mean, I don't know if you want to keep it on or something, but it's kind.
I mean, it's all good. I'm seeing in the chat right now. People are they're seeing the derpy thing. I'll just do no video because I don't want to ruin the viewing experience or anything.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so, dude, I saw my name mentioned, no, not mentioned there, at least put in the video. So I was like concerned. I was like, holy shit, man, what happened?
Yeah,
So I want to
yeah.
ask, what is your, because the thing I noticed about this video is that you put out a lot of like labels and words to describe like these commentary channels, but I don't really feel
Yeah.
like you've, or at least my understanding of the video so far, like you fleshed out a main critique of these channels. So I want to ask you that, what is your main critique and problem with commentary, I guess, slop channels?
That's a good question. I have a lot of points, some that come up later in the video, and others that I kind of wish I articulated more thoroughly in the video itself. Because there's a lot to it, but my general thing as someone who has been doing YouTube for a really long time now, is that I've been on this platform. I've been both making videos but also watching stuff all the way since I was like a little kid. So I've seen kind of a lot of the metas and the sort of things that have changed throughout the years. And in recent times, the sort of uproar of drama YouTube is something that I've noticed a lot. And initially, I didn't have too many thoughts on it, and of course this is all my opinion.
Yeah.
But you look at all these sort of channels and the type of content that exists, and my main sort of issue with it is that a lot of the time it's very, very repetitive and derivative of its own genre in a sense. And that a lot of the time too, most of the time, at least from my personal experience, things are often kind of blown out of proportion, and many of the videos made by different creators end up kind of saying the exact same thing, but just kind of with a new skin on it, if that makes any sense. That's kind of one of my bigger issues. Of course, there's kind of more personal things, but that's the wider view, is that I feel as though that sort of content kind of makes a bad mark on the overall drama sort of scene and the way that information is spread. Um, I think Mr. Beast is a good example of which, where kind of a lot of people were making the same video and were really milking the drama, and in a sense, nothing new was really said after the first like 5 videos or so, if that makes any sense.
Well, that part isn't true. But here's the thing. Okay, so I hear what you're saying with how it's just like not good content. I guess if you personally don't think it's good content, personally me, I don't watch a lot of the other commentary YouTubers that like I don't know, Cheeto. I've had problems with the past. Sense to Society and whatever, because they are just kind of, I don't know, run of the mill, like here's this current situation, not doing a lot of like looking into it or whatever the fuck or whatever. But I wouldn't call this bad. Like this is just like the game or whatever.
Sure.
I wouldn't call this a bad thing or something. So I want to understand, because you also brought up live stream clips, that
Yes.
at what point is this just a personal preference versus it being bad? Like where would you draw that distinction? Because
Yeah.
obviously like personal preference, it's like who really cares? Because people could say the
Sure.
same thing about
Yeah.
your content, for example, that they rather
Oh, and they are. They certainly are.
yeah, like they rather prefer like live stream clips for their own personal reasons versus your videos. And
Yeah.
that's cool, that's chill. But I mean, it seems like you disagree with that, and you have like this higher bar for what you think content is good.
So generally, the way that I view it is that with stream clips in the way that they are presented currently, I think a lot more sort of to the pyrocynical. I'm forgetting what Tom's live channel is, but the Tom Turkey Tom live channel, the Cheeto live channel, is that generally they are somewhat misleading in the way that they're presented, and that to me feels kind of like an issue that isn't really being addressed, especially with the Pyrocynical TV channel, where it is multiple hour-long videos on things that are short, and the thumbnails and titles imply that they are original sort of works.
What's up,
I wouldn't go as far as to say it's content theft, not by any means.
Wait,
because
original works? What does that word mean? You gotta be specific
like-
there.
basically, like you see these sort of I see in your stream now. The more recent ones that he's done, they appear to be videos that are sort of essays in their own right, and not reactions. They're presented in a way that doesn't really represent what the content actually is. And to give credit where credit is due, the videos are actually linked in the description and stuff like that, and he tells people to check it out. But to me, I personally find issue with that, because a lot of the times these videos end up getting more views than the original, and people tend to just watch the live stream clip and not go over to the original person's channel, which I think there is definitely an issue with. And you know, you may disagree, but that's my
Well, the first thing you
point.
said about the misleading like thumbnails and titles, the way they're being marketed. I mean, with this piracy, I don't know if you want to look at another example, but with this Pyrocynical TV channel, I just took a look at it real quick first time, and his about section says where streams are archived and uploaded. So it seems like he's upfront with that. I guess, would you say that these are here? I could share my screen if you want. That these are like
Yeah, I'm watching.
clickbaity?
I'm on your stream. Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
See the ones down there. If you see the like the Sonic Autism one, like that kind of line right there. You know, they're very good thumbnails and very good titles. I don't think that he's trying to steal content, but the way that it's presented comes off as if it is original content. Which,
I just
you
don't
know,
think. I think this is too far of a reach to make this definitive point here, because I mean, like people have used multiple different thumbnails for multiple different types of content. Just
Sure.
him making this, he looks like he just looked up a picture of Sonic and put the text autism connection behind it. I don't think inherently that's supposed to now imply that this is, you know, a video essay. But even if it is, I guess I just don't really see a big deal in this, like clickbait.
Sure.
Like, I don't really have ever cared about clickbait. Do you find that to be like a big deal, like a wrong? I mean, it's just like
I don't
YouTube.
think
It's the game.
biggest deal. It is the YouTube game, but I've seen it now with smaller channels who are basically trying to do the exact same thing. And that to me is kind of one of the bigger issues, because it sort of sets up this precedent that this is what works. And in a sense, it is what works. And for me personally, and this is the part where it kind of gets to, I mean, most of it is just like opinion based. But and it progresses.
Okay,
as,
here
you know,
I get your
progresses.
frustration, because I've had the same frustration. Funny enough, but here's the thing:
Sure.
everything is dictated by the market. If people are
Yeah.
enjoying this, it's just the audience making this decision. It's not their fault for like doing this, because the audience enjoys this. The audience clicks on these videos and they seemingly enjoy the content. You can't now like blame these people for doing this. The main problem I see, that I was waiting for this point to be fleshed out in your video, because the main problem I see with slop channels, for example, is the concept of the news cycle being so fucked with daily commentary channels is that people are tripping over themselves to cover the new next story. So they and only has algorithm and views on the mind to the extent where they misreport the story and they spread misinfo. This is the problem. This is a problem I've had with Cheeto in the past. This is a problem that Sensitive Society has had specifically. I remember back in the Pyro situation, funny enough. But that is like the only legitimate main critique I think I would give to these people is if they're misreporting. But that point wasn't fleshed out like at all in your video.
Well, not yet. That point is mentioned later.
Is that mentioned later in the schoolboy thing?
Yeah. It's because that is one of my biggest issues with it, truly, because
Yeah, so I think that would be the only point that I guess would be legitimate and actually tracks on. Everything else is just kind of like preference and dictated by the market or whatever. Like
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and like the reason why I feel like that doesn't really fit in a video essay too is because as you're experiencing, you get a lot of people saying the same thing back at you. Well, who the fuck do you think you are? You're now like pontificating about your content being better than this other content, but I prefer this content way better than yours. So you find yourself in that situation.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't really ever expect to find myself in this spot, and there have been many times where I'll make a video that is just something that is on my mind that has bothered me, and I put a lot of thought into it and release something, and generally the reception has been pretty positive. But this time there's definitely a good amount of pushback, which I think is not a bad thing by any means. In fact, it's really interesting to get a bunch of different people's opinions and viewpoints. But actually, later in the video, Sensitive Society and Cheeto are interviewed. And so I was able to get their perspective. I didn't want it to make it just like a one-sided opinion piece, have actual input from the side that I'm criticizing. But ultimately, the way that I see it is also a sort of like, and this is what also comes later in the video. There's a point where I talk about are you familiar with the Smart Schoolboy 9 situation?
Not really. I heard of it, but don't really know the details.
I won't go into too much detail, but
is it just the meme of misreporting and people like getting the details wrong because they're so worried about getting like their first video in the algorithm first?
To an extent, but it's also the way that an issue of a real predator who's actually trying to prey on kids has become this kind of like drama farm. And again, yes, there is some people just report saying that you reporting things that they saw on TikTok and that sort of thing with no actual evidence, and that being a pretty bad thing, especially when it comes when it is something like kind of menial drama. I think it's bad, but it's not the biggest issue in the world. But when it comes to an actual predator, that is where I see a really substantial issue in it. And that is one of the main points that I make. And I really think it's dangerous. I think that's the point where it really comes to danger. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know at Sensitive Society, as I mentioned earlier, he's found himself in I don't know if he made a mistake with the Smart Schoolboy thing, but I know he made a major fuck up with that back in the day with the Pyro situation, him misreporting that because he was just trying to get first the story. Okay, though. But in regards to me, because I felt like I was kind of an outlier for the video, everybody else kind of like 500K plus or relatively bigger channels. So you mentioned my channel, or at least showed it up on screen.
It showed on screen, yeah.
I guess what would you take issue with my channel?
So I did it with your second channel, I believe. Yes. At least I intended to do it with your second channel. Yeah. And more so, the reason I didn't say it by name was because it was more of an example of just kind of the drama in itself. Like especially with kind of what inspired me to make the video was the Bo Black situation and what was going down. I don't want to say too much, actually. But
wait, what do you mean?
Well, I've seen that a lot of the people who are now coming out and heavily criticizing him were really close friends with him, and it seems to me almost an example of self-cannibalization when someone who is initially buddy with everybody soon becomes their enemy and becomes a point for them to, make content out of. And essentially.
So you had critiques of the Bo Black's coverage?
To an extent, I mean, not direct towards you, but just as a whole, I found it very strange because there were people who were friends with him in real life,
Wait,
Who,
explain what was strange. I'm curious.
I mean, I feel as though someone, and granted, let me also be completely clear. Um, I think Boblax was in the wrong. I think that he's completely justified to get the criticism that he has. But for example, with a lot of the, and I'm not fully caught up on what the drama is. I try not to be too involved in it. But you know, you look at the way that people who were outwardly friends with him have completely turned their backs and have been so truly negative. And I, again, never was a fan of him. But it just shows to me, and this might be a just kind of emotional thing, and I believe it is, but it just feels very toxic. Where it feels as though there are things that could have been a private issue that then became shared publicly and leaked by these people that, from my point of view as an outsider looking in, seems to be just for the means of, well, content, really.
I'm so curious what you saw to come to this conclusion. What specifically?
There was a chat, a live stream done with a couple YouTubers. Don't remember exactly what it was, but the people that I know were friends with him. I think it was Augie, I believe is his name, something like that.
Yes.
Um, there was a stream where, again, I don't know the full extent of it, but I believe he came on, got criticized, left, and then a bunch of people came in and kind of just shat on him. Um, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So, what did you take issue with it?
Personally, it seemed as a matter of almost not blood sports, but it felt like more of an attack rather than sort of a respectful discourse to be had about what this person had done and the reason that they were being canceled, essentially.
Do you know why? Do you know what Boblax has done?
To my knowledge, he faked having BPD,
It's true.
and was overall kind of just boisterous, and I'm sure that there's definitely more
Okay, so
to
the
it.
problem is you're trying to like say, why don't you just have like a private call with him? Well, it's funny you say
Yeah.
that because I actually the way that jump started all of this is that I had a private call with him. I had a 50-minute private call with him trying to talk him out with his current issues and what's going on because I was buddies with him at the time, and he recorded this private call and then leaked it as exposed material to do a stream on me. He leaked it around to different content creators and then did a stream using it to call me out. So that's why
Gotcha.
people are calling him out, and that's why it was done in a public fashion. Because
I
when
see. So
when
it's
done,
essentially like fighting back to it.
yes, so when done in a private fashion, he cannot be trusted, and he's shown himself to be that way.
Gotcha. I see. I see.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that make more. That definitely makes more sense. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. Again, yeah, you kind of just made like a firm conclusion without even knowing the context, right?
I was under the impression that I knew the context.
Well,
But
that's kind of the same
evidently not.
critique. That's kind of the same critique you mentioned about the commentary slop channels, right?
That's true.
Is that
That's
they
true.
make firm conclusions without doing the research or context.
However, I wasn't broadcasting that conclusion because ultimately, me as a person, I'm not spreading a narrative. I'm not trying to say something is true or not. Hell, I don't even mention Boblax or any of that drama in it. And again, I'm not coming from the perspective of someone who is a fan of him or even really feels bad for him in the first place. It's
Well,
less
you
of an
said it was
individual
toxic
thing.
and self cannibalization. That's all I'm saying.
It feels like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I'm sure a Cheeto felt a certain thing. I'm sure different channels felt a certain thing when they reported on a situation or talked about it.
Certainly. But the
But
difference is they reported on it, right?
yeah, I guess it's just the
Um,
concept of having an opinion about it in general, like
yeah.
having an opinion that's a firm conclusion without knowing the context. But yeah, we got it. Sorry, where did this all stem from? How did we get on Boblax?
You were asking why your channel was included.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's see that. I don't think that was ever answered.
No, no, no. I mean, my answer is that it was just, another channel to use. I'd click through which one of the videos.
Another channel.
Oh, there was
Use.
it was the Boblax one, and there's one I watched on my other channel as well. Which one was it? I think it was the dog pack one, right? And I've just felt as though, it's not a none of this is a personal attack on character. I want to be clear as well.
Not taking it that way.
I use it as an example because I feel as though when talking about drama, it fits into what I was discussing.
So what would be your critique?
My critique on your content?
Yes.
That's a good question.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised you included my video, or at least my channel in your video. So
yeah,
you don't have any critiques of it.
My critique is more so with drama commentary as a whole rather than an individual basis. You know what I mean?
But you included my individual channel in the video. I mean, dude, come on. Like you're calling out others. You're calling out other slop channels in this video and acting pretentious towards your like analysis content. Meanwhile, you just included my channel and don't even have any critiques of it.
Would you agree that your channel
like where do you get this ego from?
Commentary drama? Would you agree that your content doesn't fall into the commentary drama sort of, sphere?
Yes, I covered commentary drama, but I want to know what critiques apply to my contents.
Listen, what I was saying was that it was commentary drama. It was included.
Well, you included. I could play the clip. You included my channel when you said that people are spreading misinformation. That's when you included.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I could play the clip here. I'll hop in my screen share.
Sure.
Let's see. It should either be this section or the other one. Let's see.
Pegasus is nowhere near the only person doing this. YouTubers like Turkey Tom, Achido, Sensitive Society, Jamari, WestJet, Oompaville, and many, many, many others will take a fresh controversy, make multiple videos, always over 8 minutes long or more, of course so they can make more profit from it, and then make a new video every time there's a new piece of information on the drama, no matter how small this new detail may be. You'd think that people wouldn't really watch this kind of content since...
So, like, you're scrolling through my video there.
Right.
And then there's this section too. Here, let me see.
From what we're discussing today, it's a bit confusing, but, just stick with me. Drama commentary channels often upload on a near daily basis, covering the topical news in online culture. They almost never cover anything other than controversy and scandal, though, since mass audiences don't see...
Yeah, so those are the two inclusions where you said it.
Yeah. So do you disagree with that, though?
Yes, I don't think the critiques that you are applying to these other people, apply. And that's why I asked you what your critiques are of my channel.
So the critique that's shown in my video is that basically all of the coverage is of negative situations, right?
Okay.
That's what I say in the video. That's the point that you're bringing up, no?
Wait, the critique is talking about negative situations?
Negative stories, negative content, anything like that. That's what I'm saying in the clip that you just played.
What is your problem with negative stories and people covering it? Why do you have a problem with that?
I mean, honestly, the way that I feel about it is that many of it seems to be, to an extent, at least from my point of view, unnecessary, right?
So
in the sense that...
Okay, so then I would ask, what is specifically unnecessary about my channel?
From my perspective, right, a lot of these things already have been discussed. They've already been talked about. And when multiple other videos are made about it, it just kind of sends more fuel into a fire of a narrative that's being built. Not that you particularly build, a narrative that's what everyone else goes with, but it's this, this constant stream of negativity, and I just don't personally see what it really provides to the people who see it and to the platform as a whole.
So you promote positivity on your channel?
Yeah, that's actually one of my biggest things.
Okay. To be fair, I'm not familiar with your channel, but just scrolling through, I'm seeing the dark side of Disney parks. You don't remember Kill Chuck E. Cheese, Derpygate, and Insane Controversy. You're covering controversy? I thought you didn't like drama.
So hold on. So let's kind of get into that for a second.
I mean, I could be wrong. To be fair, I haven't seen
Yeah,
these.
no,
I'm just looking at these on the surface of it, and I'm confused.
the Kill Chuck E. Cheese video, right, it's about a music video by a band called the Radioactive Chicken Heads, and in it, I interview the main guy. It's a video that scared me growing up, and it's talking about it. It's not negative. In fact, it's just a retrospective on a cool band that I like. Derpygate is a video covering a controversy regarding a My Little Pony character who I loved growing up. And the most of the video is kind of me gushing about my childhood past. The Disney one is talking about kind of horrific things that have happened at the Disney parks, but it ends with me going to the parks and
What kind of
just
horrific things?
they're like deaths that have happened, essentially.
Deaths. Well, I could say, man,
Yeah.
I may be negative, but I've never covered deaths on my channel. Like, what the fuck?
I have multiple times, and
Do you see how this like flies in the face of like your criticism of other people, though?
not particularly, no.
Well, it's
Because
like also
covering
this
morbid-
concept. Also, this concept of like negativity is also like a weird point in of itself because
Sure.
I guess like it's like what do you personally qualify as like negativity or negative? Like, is just talking about like current situations and giving commentary on social events negative? Like, I would see your point if you're talking about like, I don't know, someone who swears right front and center and like is very hyper aggressive towards people and just like screams at them or whatever, like blood sports. But I mean, that's not the case for a lot of the people you're talking about.
I mean, I think it's definitely subjective to an extent, but at least from my personal point
So
of
what
view,
would be So what would be the negativity about my channel?
well, that's what I'm trying to answer.
Yeah.
That the idea of kind of going at people. Granted, I haven't seen all your videos, right? Just like you haven't seen all of mine. But generally, it appears to be that most of the stuff is talking about the wrongdoings of a lot of different people. Not that that's inherently wrong, but would you not say that that's
Is it
negativity?
negative? Is it negative to call out the wrongdoings of Jeffrey Epstein?
Not at all, but I don't think that's a fair comparison.
Well, it's just like this concept of calling out wrongdoings. I don't understand like where this like logic comes in of this being like a negative thing or like and you're prescribing like a bad thing. You're alluding this to being like a bad thing, right? When you say negative.
Not particularly objectively bad, but the difference is that something like talking about Jeffrey Epstein, where there are things that are objectively evil and horrible, of course that should be called out, that should be addressed, right? And I would hope that most people do. A lot of my content is based around, calling out people who exploit children on YouTube, and giving solutions as to how we can help.
So it's so you're saying that it's subjective, okay? And that from the videos you've seen of me, you've deemed this to be negative. So then, what video did you watch of me that you felt was negative and that is getting across this idea you're explaining?
I watched the Bo Blacks one, not fully, but part of it. I've watched, I believe it was a Mama Max one a while back during that controversy as well. And I believe I think I saw, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see because I have multiple YouTube accounts and the like watched is inconsistent with those.
You're good. I just what do you remember being negative? What would be the negative point?
So with for example the Mama Max one, which I kind of remember better. I agree honestly that the Mama Max content or the things that he did were pretty apprehensible, and let's just say I'm not too fond of the guy. But I suppose I have a question to pose to you, right? When these things have already been talked about and discussed by a lot of different people, do you feel as though your input, like I suppose I'm just trying to articulate, I do not debate ever. But
you don't have to
my
debate.
question-
All you have to do is just explain what you like were trying to get across the idea of in your video. Like I don't feel like I'm going hard at you, but I mean, dude, you included me in your video, and it seems like you can't really fully explain what even your problems are. It's like, how do you expect people to take seriously your video essays?
Sure. Wait. I'm sorry. Do you mean as a concept alone, or just the video that I made about, the slop stuff?
The slop stuff. That's all I'm aware of.
Okay. Yeah. To me, generally, the main thing is that I come from the perspective of, is this necessary? Does this, like, what is the contribution? Sorry, I can't talk. What is the contribution of this content, right? What makes any of the coverage different? I think it does definitely change. There are different tiers of drama commentary videos that, actually do research, and those who just kind of read some tweets and start talking. But what is necessary? Like, is it necessary to make multiple videos on a drama that's already being discussed by other people, and has good coverage of it, right?
So what did you feel that I did that was unnecessary?
I personally think that a lot of drama commentary is just kind of unnecessary.
This was the problem with your
provide too much to the.
Yeah, this is the problem I had with your video essay too. I'm asking you specific
Sure.
questions, and you're answering in broad terms. Like, I don't think you
Well, I
can
believe
flesh
it's a
out
very
like a
broad
specific.
subject.
Yeah,
Because
but
I'm not. Listen.
you
I
first
never
give a
came and
broad
attacked
point, and
you.
you first give a broad point, and then you explain the specifics. And when I'm trying to get down to the specifics to see why you think this, then it seems like you can't really give me an answer.
Well, essentially, it's. I think that drama as a whole is in a lot of ways sort of pedantic, and I feel as though a lot of it, and I understand your point about kind of broad answers, because I don't think there really is a specific, done and done answer that can be given, because it is an opinion, it is subjective. I just really, I'm kind of anti-drama.
Do you want to talk sometime in the future? Do you want to
Sure. Yeah, no,
I don't know, like prepare or something, or like think through this a little bit more and then talk in the future about this? Because
that would
I
probably
guess
be a better idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Why don't we do that?
That could work, because I was watching it and just kind of paused it and popped on here. Definitely
good.
not ready.
You could reach out whenever that you got this. All right. Appreciate you calling in, though. I do appreciate you calling in. I know a lot of people would.
Of course.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish I'd prepared some talking points better, but
you're good.
It is what it is.
Catch you later, man.
All right, have a good one.
I mean, I just called it. This is like the video essay stereotype. This is what I said earlier. Like, a guy who makes a video essay, and when asked to have like a conversation, explain his ideas and flesh out his takes, he just crumbles. He doesn't even know his opinion. He doesn't even flesh out his takes, dude. He just has this emotional reaction that like drama is like cringe. Like, okay. So yeah, I don't know if we'll have another conversation. We'll see. But I just had to put an end to that. Like, it just was going nowhere. He just, I don't know, he just didn't have a fleshed out take, yet made a video on it. And yet this video was supposed to be calling out other people for not having their fleshed out takes and for misreporting information, when, I mean, this guy doesn't even know his thoughts on this. Dog, live stream environment is different than scripted content, but you know that. But good, you ended it. So yes, I can agree that there is more pressure in a live stream type of fashion than as opposed to a video essay that people aren't used to as much. I felt like I was completely generous and fair in like allowing him to think through and get out his thoughts, though. At the core of it, like, I didn't like bombard this guy and go hyper fucking Ethan Ralph aggressive towards him. He had every opportunity to get across his thoughts, but it just seems like he didn't have any. So I disagree with that like characterization. But
Don't seem to care for story.
all right, though, let's we should finish off this video. Let's see, because he calls apparently a Cheeto insensitive society, so I'm curious on this. I'll finish this off, and then it's so funny.